Hey everyone, welcome back. I know it's been a while. It's been like probably like 4 or 5 months. I haven't looked at the time since the last one. I was pulled back into work to go into office for a different project I was put on that required me to go into the office. So I haven't really been super motivated to make videos on it or even work on it. I have done a lot. I probably could have done more, but I'm just going to talk about what I did. Also thought about how I've been calling these devlogs, even though it doesn't really feel like a devlog. It kind of feels more of like a update. So I'm going to keep calling it a devlog. Maybe at some point I will start recording when I work on things. It's just, I feel like it's kind of boring to record and show me working on specific things because sometimes it could take a while. A lot of times I'm not doing it in one sitting. I have a very short attention span, so I'll be doing a small thing and then I'll rewrite it when I come back to it. That's why I don't do that. I could if y'all want, but I don't. So I'm gonna jump right into it. Here's my game. If I go over to Visual Studio, you'll see I do have all these changes that I have made. A lot of them are, you probably do not care about it. You can pause and look at any point, but I will probably mainly go over these top ones and then maybe pick out a few from the visible changes section. The back end stuff is more stuff that you guys wouldn't be able to see unless I started going through the code. I guess we could just, I'll jump in and I'll just kind of look around. I do not remember at all what the last devlog was about, so I'm just going to kind of jump into it and hope nothing goes wrong. Currently, I am not impressed at the way everything looks. Everything is getting better. I just feel like there's no style to it. I'm not very creative when it comes to artistic stuff. As you see, I'm still using the main models or the original models. There's a lot of it that just feels off, and I'm trying to work on it here and there. First off the bat, I'm sure you'll notice that the terrain is now has height to it. That was one major thing that I really wanted to work on. The issue with that is that the AI is still dumb, and I promise I will get to that eventually. So they do not know how to jump, and they still get stuck on objects on the same level. I will have to get around that. And it is generated using a seed, so it does regenerate every time. Let's see, I guess another major thing, I'll pull it up now since I will probably be using it. I did kind of add like a chat to it. Right now you cannot actually see the messages or what you send. It doesn't store it. That is another future update that I will get to. So if I, go back and says, yo, it does pop up here. That is one thing. I am printing it out in the console. Obviously, the console won't be there in the game. I did also add support for commands. There are a few. If I type in help, it'll kind of list off all of them. So if I click on this, I have a help, a time, and a give. Time sets the time, and then give gives me items. If I do help give, it'll give me the help command on how to use that. So for this one, I think the ID for the item is storage, and then if I give myself 500, it should give me 500 storages. When it comes to placing objects, if you're holding an object, it'll show kind of like a preview. And then, if you're not holding anything, it's obviously not going to store a preview. I did add rotation if you hold down the control button and scroll the wheel, or else if you don't hold down control, it changes your hotbar. So I added that instead of having to get the right angle to do it. You can just do it that way. I might, now that I'm thinking about it, add kind of like an arrow, like some games have, to show where the front is. As this one, the only way is the little hinges right here, or not the hinges, but kind of, I guess, the front locking mechanism of the storage, and that's not really a good way to. Now you can place it by right-clicking. I have a lot of them. As you see, it takes it away from the inventory, and now if I try to place it somewhere that I can't, it won't let me, and it turns red. So that is something I added. As you see, the trees were originally added to the map kind of like these were, but when I made the terrain height, I kind of messed that up because before it was just like an XY placing items, but now it's an XYZ or XZ and then Y for height. Now when I place items, I can't. I'll get to that, and some of these items that were placed beforehand are not actually placed on the map. So like this, and the storage right here is not actually placed, so if there's terrain here, I could place something in it. Next thing, as you see, these kind of like little name tags when I hover over something. Like let's say if I edit the name to not a storage, it changes the name of it and kind of makes it easier to see the storage. So I did add name tags to these settlers. I do not remember last time if these settlers had names. I downloaded a few JSON files about, I guess, every first name and every last name possible. They are randomly generated every time. And I kind of added the state. It's supposed to be a state, colon, and then a substate. Currently, some of the substates don't have states or state names, so I'll have to look into that. I guess next we'll look at the movement of the sun in the sky. So as you see in this top right corner, it says 11:43. I forgot what my time scale is. I think it's like a minute every second. Days aren't super long. I think it started at 6 o'clock when I did it, and it's already 12. Yeah, so it started at 6. So as you can see, it's kind of the sunset. I think I'm using the base, he's a good shot. The base skybox for now. I could do time, and then I have it multiple ways. If I go here, I do have the help. Time can be used as follows. I could do time, hour, minute, and I could just do hour. Originally I had hour, minute, but I was getting kind of lazy because most of the times I didn't need to add a minute. So if I do, let's say I wanted it to be time 12. So now you can see it's a lot brighter. I did try to change the rotation of the directional light based on the time. So it's kind of like the sky. If I do time 18, it is 24-hour based for obvious reasons. So now the sunset should be on the other side. I do get the sun coming through the cracks for some reason, but as you do see, they are going upwards, which means my light is rotating. If I do time 24, it's dark. I do have another issue I've been noticing that I have to look into. As you see, the sky is dark, but it still feels kind of bright. Like obviously not bright, but like I have no issue seeing anything. I want to fix that. Don't know how yet. I'm pretty sure it's because I'm using a directional light and it's not really coming from a position. It's always everything's just going to be lit. So light's still going to be coming from underneath. Probably going to have to look into that. Let's get it back to 6 o'clock. Why not? I could do exactly 6:45. And if you look at the top right, the time, 6:45. I did also make it to where if you put an invalid time, I guess, like let's say I put 1800 or so. Oh, let's see. Yeah, 1800, just random number. At the end, 5000. So I did add a modulus operation, so now that 1800 will, be modded by 24, and if I did the math, so that just happened to come out to 12 or 0.20. Next off, as you see, I have these electrical components. I'm still working on this. This battery does not work. I added name tags to it. Solar panel does work. It is based off of the time. If I give myself a wire, let's just give myself 10 of them. So I do have this wire that I added that I could hook up to an output. So it does follow me around, and I did add a max length to it so that if I run far enough, it'll break. But it'll break back into my hand. The way I have it working is that just using it once does not use the item. It still shows 10. I do have things to work on it, like if I swap my thing in my inventory to something else, it doesn't break. And I'm honestly not sure if it'll continue doing what it's doing. Okay, so I can hook it up to there, and for some strange reason, it is lit, but solar panel, it should only be lit if it's daytime, because the solar panel, as you see, output is 0.10, but if I do time 6, now it's 10 out of 10. I did have it to where, from 6 to 6 p.m., it should be taking an energy. Eventually, I'll change that to, like, have a max energy output at noon, and then kind of have it go down from there, either direction to 0 at, I guess, sunset and sunrise. That's my plan. But originally, I did change some of the code. Originally, if this wasn't outputting anything, the lamp would be off. So let's see if it works anyways. It's broken. I'm still working on the electrical components. As you see, this one doesn't have This one I'm trying to figure out how to get the input and the output when I right click on it. So it doesn't really do anything. This is still work in progress. I would like a lot of things to be energy based. So you kind of have to collect energy, like these towers eventually. I want them to be only work if, they're powered. So these are just kind of the three basic things I have. I have an energy supplier, generates electricity, and it, outputs it. And then I have an electricity receiver. It only receives electricity. And then this one, I have an electricity storage. I'm still working on these. So, eventually a solar panel into the battery and the battery into the lamp. Let's see, stamina. I did a lot of changes to the stamina. So as you see, I moved the bars to the top, health and stamina. So stamina, sprinting. I add a lot more stamina right now, at least, because I was getting pissed off running out in 5 seconds. So I can run, and it does recharge. I think there was a bug last time where if it started to recharge, you couldn't use it at all. But I fixed that. I think I mostly got those. Punching uses stamina too now. A lot more stamina. I was trying to clean up some of the menus, so the tower and the settler menus are cleaned up more than what they were. I do want to add, like, selecting one of them, and you see this whole blank space over here to the right. I want to add more details, more specific details like stats and all that. I do have that in the works. Let's see, and name tags, current state. I did a whole work on name tags. I try to make name tags as easy as possible. So I know Unity doesn't work that well with interfaces, but, as a, C# programmer, I like to use interfaces. All I have is text lines, follow transform, and follow offset. The text lines, it's just a list of string. Currently, I have it to max out at 3 lines. If you want to add just 1 line, you would just, create a new list and add 1 string. The second line would be the second string, third line would be the third string. If you add more than that, it's not going to throw an error. It'll just not display anything after that. And if it's an empty list, I honestly do not know what it does. Yeah, so we got 3 text lines. I think it will look... Oh, I think I have I think it was player look at. Cool. So player look, it'll look for name tags. And then, so when I do my raycast, I want to raycast everything except for players. I was having an issue because the camera sometimes goes through the player. So, I'm looking out for a name tag holder, and if I do, I have a scriptable object for player lookat events that I could just toss to anything I want. So in this case, I toss it to the name tag class, and from there I could subscribe to those events. I didn't want to run this every frame because it's unnecessary. I don't need every frame be shooting a raycast out, so I think I have it set to I don't know, I think I have it set to just 4 times a second. That should be necessary. As you probably saw, it was good enough. It wasn't throwing any issues. It's pretty quick. As I guess you could see, just like a quick, takes a second, or not a second, but like a very small amount of time, but that's something I could always change in the future. You also have to be close enough for the name tag to exist. Did add a clear tree state, so now he will, instead of chopping down a tree, planting it, he'll just chop it down and pick up the drops and move on. He won't plant it. I think you saw earlier, has fallen off the map. I do have a few of these. So I didn't want drops or settlers or, anything. It's mainly for drops. If I like throw something over the edge of the map, I don't want it to just live there forever and just drop and drop and drop and drop. So I added a script onto those that it'll check the transform, and then once it gets below a certain Y value, it'll just be destroyed. And then I have a debug line for now saying that it happens just because eventually I don't want enemies to be falling off the map. I want them to unload when the chunk unloads, because that's what's happening right now. Is if I go back here, that guy right there, he's just stuck. But if I walk too far this way, see if I could keep him in view, he will fall. Now he's gone. He didn't unload with the chunk. The chunk unloaded and he fell. It's not that big of a deal right now since I'm not exploring. I do want to work on that. I want the settlers to also unload, because once again, if I don't want the world to just, or the game to just be over because you walked too far. That's not the point. So you see one of them just fell. The other one just walked off and the other one fell. As you see down here, engineer, settler, miner, and lumberjack have fallen off the map. It's not a big issue right now, but obviously not wanted. Anyways, I think that is all I really have to show. hopefully the game looks a lot different by the next devlog, and hopefully it's not going to be as long of a wait. So thank you for watching. Thank you for coming back if you came back. Thank you for clicking on the thumbnail if this is your first time. Thank you for watching. I'll hopefully see you next time.